Deion Sanders Jr. predicts the surprising future of Shedeur Sanders despite going through his toughest moment. He went on social media to show support for his stepbrother. Cleveland Browns preseason has not been generous enough to rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, but his family has stayed loyal during these hard times. Among his strongest supporters was his stepbrother Deion Sanders Jr., as he delivered a public message that is making waves. He went to his brother's Instagram profile to show him his forever-lasting support, acknowledging the current situation his brother is going through. He is currently trying his best to fit in a room full of quarterbacks, but he does not seem to find his space just yet. Browns preseason finale, Shedeur Sanders went to Instagram and thanked his fans, while giving his reaction to his great performance. He claimed that the preseason provided him with a lot to learn from, but vowed to keep getting better day by day, rep by rep. Below that post, his brother, Deion Sanders Jr., just commented 2 words: "Young King." The brief remark hit home. For all but the most skeptical fans, it was not only words of encouragement from relatives, but also a fearless prediction that Shedeur would persevere over present difficulties to become an NFL champion someday. A preseason with ups and downs. Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion "Prime" Sanders, encountered tough challenges throughout the preseason and training camp for the Browns. He completed just 3 of 6 passes for 14 yards, was sacked 5 times, and could not advance the chains in his first series in the season finale. Meanwhile, the other quarterbacks on the roster, including veteran Joe Flacco and rookie Dillon Gabriel, enjoyed more consistent plays, creating a threat to Shedeur's roster position immediately. The Browns' conservative style has also been criticized as overly conservative, which reportedly limited Sanders' style and prevented him from demonstrating the improvisational ability that made him a star at Colorado. An unnegotiable family support. Even in the middle of a tough time like this one, the Sanders family has rallied behind Shedeur. His older brother Shiloh has also been a great supporter since the start of the preseason, and Coach Prime himself has stepped aside, matching Shedeur's request to avoid distraction in training camp. Deion Sanders Jr.'s "Young King" comment was the icing bit on that show of loyalty, as it served to reiterate that the odd feelings of his present struggles are just temporary in the eyes of his family. The Browns' quarterback depth chart remains questionable, with roster cuts looming. Although Shedeur Sanders can start the season further back on the line, his preseason experience, although humbling, can serve as the basis for lasting improvement. Until then, his brothers and supporters everywhere wait and watch if the "Young King" prophecy could come to be true. The rain had a way of making everything cinematic that night. Stadium lights slicing watery halos through the air, the field's green dark and slick, and the crowd's roar muffled into something far away, like an echo from another life. Shedeur Sanders sat on the bench with the towel across his shoulders, breathing slow, the kind of breath athletes train to hold and then let go. This was the toughest moment he'd faced in neon and noise. Mistakes magnified, timing lost, expectations turning like knives. He had lost more than a game. He'd lost a little of the voice inside that told him, "I am ready." But even when the voice stutters, family finds a way to speak louder. Deion Sanders Jr. didn't arrive with a sermon or a checklist. He came carrying a weathered pair of cleats and a grin that had never learned to take life too seriously. He sat beside Shedeur, not in the spotlight but in that quiet seat next to the person who needed a mirror, not a spotlight. Deion's presence was a prophecy in soft casing. Not the loud, viral prediction you'd find on social feeds, but the kind that shifts the air in the room. "You think this is the low?" Deion asked, voice half teasing, half certain. Shedeur turned his head. His eyes were wet with the kind of clarity only disappointment brings. He shrugged. "Feels like it." Deion's laugh was small and dangerous in the best way. "Good," he said. "Lowest points are where the launch pads hide. You ever watch a rocket? It comes down to fire to go up. This is your fire." That's the surprising future Deion predicted. Not because he was seeing visions in the clouds, but because he knew the pattern of resilience. He'd seen it in family dinners, backyard drills, in the way Shedeur would throw a ball at dusk until the light gave out. He had watched the boy become a man, and the man become a player who carved poetry out of pressure. And so his prophecy had 2 weights, a weight of evidence and a weight of will. "He's going to be the kind of player that makes the narrative editors mad," Deion said later, to anyone who'd listened, to reporters, to teammates, to the intern refilling water bottles. "They'll write the headline, faltering rookie, then he'll write the sequel, unstoppable." It sounded cocky when he said it, but there was no arrogance in the promise. Only that familial stubbornness, the belief that work outlives momentary failure. Deion's prediction had contours. He didn't promise overnight miracles or fairy tale stats. Instead, he sketched a future of microevolutions. Mechanics sharpened in the silence of morning reps, reads that used to take a beat now arriving a hair earlier, leadership that grew not from charisma but from accountability. He imagined Shedeur learning to carry loss like a tool, not a burden, and turning the lessons into quiet, daily improvements. The tough moment was a crucible. In Deion's telling, Shedeur's surprising future would be built on 3 pillars: humility, habit, and audacity. Humility, because the game would humble him again and again. Those who survive learn to listen more than they speak. Habit, because greatness rarely arrives in dramatic leaps. It is a compound interest of small, stubborn choices. Film at midnight, extra footwork reps, calling receivers after practice to iron out timing. Audacity, because talent without risk is just a statistic. The audacity Deion predicted was not reckless. It was the boldness to make the right throw when the world expected him to play it safe. There were scenes to go with the speech. Shedeur waking before dawn to throw into empty nets, a coach's whistle slicing the air as he drilled footwork until his legs felt like cogs, late-night film sessions with headphones on, and a notebook full of marginalia. There was the humility of apologies in the locker room after losses, the habit of accountability that made teammates trust him again, and the audacity of a fourth-quarter drive where he'd stare down a defense that had once made him flinch. Family helped. Deion's visits weren't all pep talk and prophecy. Sometimes they were practical. Watching film with a stopwatch, pointing out a hitch in a release, mimicking a defender's drop back with a childlike dramatism that nonetheless taught timing. There were also dinners where old stories softened the edges of pressure. "Remember when you missed that game in high school?" Deion would say, and the laugh that followed would erode some of the fear like sunlight on frost.